Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Road Punch Gaming Podcast. This week I'm joined by my brother and host of the Sick Faxis podcast, Kris Lipscombe, and we're just going to be doing a Avengers spoiler cast. This all came about because it was meant to be on the next episode of the podcast, but we went on for way too long, so it's become its own episode. So I hope you'll enjoy, and I'll see you at the end with footnotes.
We're going to start talking about the Avengers now.
Mm-hmm.
Tweet us if you're on Twitch if you've got any questions about the Avengers. I saw it last night. When did you see it?
I saw it actually a while ago. I saw it a week ago. Yeah, when did I go see it? It was either last Friday to Sunday, one of those 3 days.
Yeah, so I went and saw it because I was really busy and skint, so I didn't get to see it for a while. So I went and saw it with my friend Sam.
You had to see it when the Americans could see it. I saw it like a week before. I was like, "Oh, look at me!" I don't understand. Right, so the first question I have to ask about this film.
Royal Punch Gaming, sponsored by Volvic. It's like tap water, but more expensive.
The first question I have to ask about this film and the first Avengers film. Right, Joss Whedon's American, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I assume so. As far as I know, he is. He might be Canadian.
and
Yeah.
most of
Basically the same thing.
most of like the Avengers
Canadians are
cast.
gonna love that.
Yeah, most of the Avengers cast seems to be American.
Yes, I just looked dead into the camera.
But why are these films classed as English?
What do you
As
mean?
British, as English?
Why?
Because, right, the first Avengers film, when I used to work at Odeon, we had a special thing where you could get, like, double points if it was an English film, and Avengers was one of those films.
It probably has loads of special effects done here.
Oh, I guess so, maybe. Yeah, because also the first Avengers film released a week or two in England first before America.
Yeah,
And then the same this time as well.
It tends to be with stuff like that because Interstellar was cast as a British film, and it is normally because they do like just a fuckload of the special effects here. Sometimes they shoot bits of it here, like bits that are shot on sound stages. Sometimes they're shot here because they just tend to shoot that wherever it has like the best tax breaks.
Yeah.
But we're very good at special effects. Hello, cat. Which cat is it? I forget.
Tora.
Tora, you're right, Tora. It's a cat in here
He's
now.
the one that always gets in the way of my streams and recording.
So that's what's going on there, basically.
Yeah. Okay, well, I assumed it had to be something like someone in the like support of the film.
Yeah, it's
Right.
normally special effects. We just do. We've got a fairly big special effects industry here, and you can kind of do that wherever. So we just that's pretty much why is we just do the special effects for it in England. When I was thinking, I do actually mean England. I think it's somewhat. It's not like in Scotland. I mean, it's actually in England.
So, yeah, there you go. Go on. Here's a box he sleeps in over there.
Yeah.
Go on, fuck's sake.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah. So I had some points on my phone that I have to try and look up because obviously it's been ages since I watched it. But yeah, where should we start? Do we want to talk about the film chronologically or just pick at random points?
So the opening fight scene is fabulous. It is a...
Yeah, you're going to have to lead this because I tried to write down notes, but it was hours after I'd watched it, and then I kind of like, I was too... What the fuck are you doing?
So the opening fight scene is cat again.
Mm.
So the opening fight scene is a perfect Avengers fight scene. It feels like it's taken from the comics.
So, yeah.
It is the fight against Hydra where they're going to... which this is going to be incredibly spoiler
Yeah, well, we
heavy.
haven't actually warned, I don't think.
Like,
yeah,
this is just... I'm probably going to spoil like the whole film.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, be forewarned. So Baron Strucker, who we saw at the end of Captain America, I believe, Winter Soldier. Yeah, he's in the post-credits scene. Whatever. As you see him and twins in that film, and this time they have finally tracked him down because he's got the scepter. from the first Avengers film. They finally tracked it down. Thor was pretty pissed and pretty keen on finding it. That fight scene to me is a fight from an Avengers comic book. Just the way it's put together, the way it's shot. There's something very general as well about fight scenes in the Avengers. What I like is they shoot them in the daytime.
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of action films these days, action scenes happen in the dark, and there's a lot of quick cuts, and you can't tell what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
The Avengers uses longer shots generally, not always, but in general they use longer shots, and the fight scenes seem to take place in daylight,
and
so you can actually see what's happening.
Another thing is they'll usually connect one person's fight scene and flow into a different person's bit, and then there'll be a cut after that, but. It usually goes on from one person to the other in a way.
I also
that's
think
really clever.
What's genius here is this very clearly establishes that the Avengers are a team now. In the first film, they're not a team, but the way they're interacting,
it's a bit of a jump, and it's a bit weird though, because at the end of the last one, they all split up, and they basically say we'll be back together when you need us, which kind of seems like. Well, at the start of the next film, they're going to have to bring them all back together again. But this one, they've rejoined as a team
between Captain America and this film, which I'm fine with though.
I just let it slide, but it was just a bit of a weird thing. God's sake. One sec.
So they're working perfectly as a team, which is great. They've got some brilliant tag team moves, which is genius.
Yeah.
I love all of that. All the stuff where they're just basically teaming up is great. The way that they utilize the Hulk as an asset now. Yeah,
that was really good. And the lullaby.
The lullaby is cool.
Yeah.
I don't really quite get what's going on there, but I know that it's trust, but it's kind of like is there some deeper thing going on? Because she always comes and approaches him in the same way. So.
Yeah. I think it may be to do with pitch of voice and stuff, and the way words work with your mind, and that kind of thing. I think there is a decent amount of science behind that kind of subject, but they just didn't go into it because obviously it'd be boring.
Yeah,
but I think it was kind of based around that idea that
it just feels like it is obviously that's going on there as well, but it also feels very much like it's code word triggers and stuff.
Yeah.
So you do wonder if when he is Banner, he's been conditioned or something.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I loved all of that. It's great, just great scenes. Really well put together. I really like Jarvis has a satellite. Slightly disappointing because there's a great scene in the early Avengers books. Where there's a satellite and it's called the Iron Man Mark 6 armor, and it's just a satellite, and there's a big fight scene, and Tony calls it in and basically just crashes a satellite into the battle, and he's solve the problem. But I don't think that solved the problem, Tony. You can't just orbitally bombard shit.
I'm sure I recognise that that's from something else as well.
Where
it's like someone's armor or something or a robot, and it just is a satellite.
Yeah.
Instead, I can't remember.
But that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But I thought that Jarvis in the early film is just fabulous. But then obviously there's the stuff happens to Jarvis when Ultron comes back. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But that's kind of disappointing. I also thought the way that the Maximoff twins were introduced was pretty cool.
I liked that it gave they had the whole bit to give the Avengers their intro, and it went really well, and then that led perfectly into those two being introduced by the fact that the Avengers weren't all huddled up into a group. The way they fought and stuff did separate them out, so it made it possible for these two others to turn up.
I'd also like to say I like the use of the term enhanced.
That's what I was just about to say as well.
Because
we have an enhanced on the field.
Yeah, because it feels more. It's not like, hey, there's another superhero. It's not like, hey, there's someone with superpowers.
Yeah,
but it's not like because in DC Comics it was called metahumans,
Mm.
and I just like enhanced because it's a way more. It's a broader term because
Yeah.
it can be like, well, because Iron Man is enhanced because
Yeah.
he has the Iron Man armor.
Yeah.
Whereas like Thor is enhanced because he's a god,
Yeah.
but Captain America's enhanced because he has the super.
He's literally
serum.
enhanced.
So like
Yeah.
it's a nice, very specific way
Yeah.
of phrasing it that I felt really worked. But it also made it feel very much like a real military
Yes,
operation.
yeah,
Like it's a
yeah.
term that you feel the military would use.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm on board with that.
It also brings into the idea of the films that they're becoming a bit more common.
Yes.
Like that, it's not necessarily that big, like that common, because obviously they're still surprised that there's some there, but they have words for it because the Avengers aren't the only ones.
yeah,
So it's
but
kind
I
of
can't
world building. In just saying one word, it builds this entire world
Yes.
of possibilities of
Yeah.
people being around.
I can't remember if it's a term that's used in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or not. Is all.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just a really nice term, and it works for me as it's not a term that sounds super dumb, which is which is generally a problem when you kind of to start to come up in world phrasing for this.
Yeah.
Is it tends to sound super dumb when you've got like when military organisations do. I'm fine with like the civilians being like, oh, the superheroes, cool,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But when like you've got kind of characters referring to other characters as superheroes in like a serious situation, it always sounds weird.
Yeah.
Whereas it just enhances a great term. I really like how powerful they show. Sorry,
I tried to calm that down and just smack down.
I really like how powerful they show that Quicksilver is straight away.
Yeah.
And I also think it's smart to steer away from the version of his powers that is shown in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, see, I haven't watched that yet, so
It's very different in X-Men.
I don't mind hearing spoilers, but obviously it doesn't really.
What all I say is in X-Men, in this you tend to, apart from one fight scene, one scene in a fight scene anyway, you tend to see stuff from other people's perspective.
No.
Like you tend to just see him as a blur.
Yeah.
But so you know the scene on the ship where he just takes like Cap's shield out and stuff because he's moving in slow motion to him basically. Yeah, that's what it's like in X-Men Days of Future Past. Is basically the entire room is just still, and he's just moving through this like perfectly still room, just changing everything. And I think that is actually a more interesting way to view his powers. But I also think showing it from the other characters' perspectives.
Well, I think it's only the first fight scene that I think you really see him from other people's perspective. There are points, I think, in the other fights where he's not the main focus at the time, and he goes through. But at this point, it works really well because they don't know who. They don't know who he is, what's going on, and then once he's further introduced, we then see him from his perspective in the next time there's a fight scene. Yeah. So I think it works really well.
But I also just like that he takes out Captain America like with no effort.
Yeah.
Just literally dumps him. He like sort of that's a brilliant point. It's absolutely fantastic. And where he's just snatching Hawkeye's arrows out of the air. It's great. But so we should probably get into the film proper from there.
I really loved. One sec. We'll obviously talk about this as we go further on, but Hawkeye's narrative in this film was fantastic. I thought.
I would completely disagree, but I'll explain why.
Okay. We'll talk about. There was. I think I know the points you'll come up, but we'll talk about it at the time because. Yeah, it's fine. We'll talk about it later. So So what was after that? We had the introduction of basically the Ultron suit.
Yeah, so you basically
and the gear down there.
You get stuff of Ultron, but stuff happens in.
But they get the staff back.
They get the staff back, and then Tony realizes that the staff is actually a computer of some kind, and it's running code.
Yeah, so, there was a bit that annoyed me. Again, we'll talk about it further on, but Tony says, we've just looked at like the outside of it or something.
Yeah.
And you have to look further in.
Yeah.
And then there's a point that Ultron later says, it's like, oh, humans just look at the shell of it. They don't look at what's really inside or something like that. And it's like, well, that's what Tony was doing.
Yeah.
Like, but I guess that could be though because they're like basically almost the same person.
Yeah, they are in a way.
So yeah, I guess
I
so.
think that's a deliberate decision.
Yeah, I just realised because there's that deliberate bit in the entire way through. That could have been a reference to that. I just thought of that. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I kind of like that bit. It's pretty neat. So what? So then you get the title card, and then you get the party.
Yeah.
The party is just a party. Some of the stuff where they're like, "Hey, our girlfriends aren't here because blah blah blah." It's kind of a weird scene.
No, that was.
It's funny.
That was. It was a little bit weird, but that scene showed so much stuff for. Well, basically, it had a lot of the Banner, Natasha moment stuff.
That's cool.
And that really built a lot up there. It also explained a little bit more about how the lullabies working is because obviously they have a connection that you didn't know about before that. And then so that does a lot of like building of that relationship in like a few minutes, and also it explains why these girlfriends aren't around to like be in the way of the story or be a plot point in the story. So it's like it's a easy, quick like maneuver around that. So they don't have to be in anything to do with it. So that it was a little bit weird, but it did really help, I thought, because otherwise you could be one like, oh, what's going to happen with them? Why they turn up, stuff like that. And Pepper Potts I like, but I really don't like Thor's girlfriend. I think she's a terrible character. I don't like the 4 films though, personally.
I can see, but yeah. I given what shakes out at the end of the film, though, I kind of still find it weird that she's not there.
What, Pepper?
No, Thor's girlfriend Jane.
Yeah, we don't. There's a little bit of a time skip, so we don't know what's happened. I mean, he could have gone off and seen her. So,
but when you get at the end of the film, you've got the new Avengers stuff.
Yeah,
and I find it odd that she's not there, given that the other Professor guy is. And Thor's like
is he there?
Yeah, he's there in the final scenes. And because Thor is like, well, she's off giving loads of lectures because she's the foremost world expert on these wormholes and stuff.
I guess you would think that she would be there because, like, of the Infinity Stones, but they don't really know anything about them.
Well, not because of that, but because they've kind of like got loads of science people together again, and because he's there. And my point isn't the Infinity Stones.
But the point is, he's not there.
He is there.
No, but he's leaving.
Not
straight
Thor.
Away.
The Professor guy.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, but he was clearly unhappy or just didn't care about what his life was doing at the time.
Yeah,
because when Thor comes and gets him, he's like so excited that Thor's there.
Yeah.
So I think he was just clambering to be doing something.
Yeah, I guess
more. So I think that's why, and she's probably happy doing whatever the fuck, being a crap character.
But
yeah.
So then you get the cool bit with the hammer.
Yeah.
The look on Thor's face when Cap lifts it a tiny bit is brilliant.
Yeah. I like that little bit of worry, and then he's like, that's all right.
But I think it's clear that he's just putting on a show for everyone else because he's worried until he realizes that people are looking at him.
Yeah.
And then he jokes.
Yeah.
And when Cap he's worried until like Cap gives up.
Yeah. At the time, that scene seems completely pointless.
Yes.
And it's like, why is this in here?
Yes.
Apart from the scene that then rolls on from that, it's like, why is this here? And then later, that scene,
it's a little bit of comic relief.
It is, yeah. But later, that scene gets so validated so strongly that it's like, okay, yeah, I understand why that was in there. Obviously, all the guys that know the comic books or anything slightly about it, the stuff that happens is obvious. But that was so, yeah.
Also, I do think when Natasha's like, I don't need to lift it, I know the answer to that question. That's very on the nose.
Yeah.
It's just like, you didn't need to say that.
Yeah.
So then you get Ultron arrives.
Yeah, we did kind of skip over the whole Ultron bit before.
You get that, so
Ultron Jarvis, which was a really good scene.
Yeah, so Jarvis manages to create an interface for the... Basically, creates an interface between the Ultron programming, which is what Tony describes as a suit of armor for the world. And between the program they found inside the gem, which is kind of like a proper full artificial intelligence. Because Jarvis is described as like he was started out as a language recognition program that got smarter and smarter, but he's not a full.
He's more, what do they call it? Occasionally, I haven't really heard. I only heard it in a few things. A VI is in a virtual intelligence.
Kind of.
Would you call it like?
He's just not a full AI, basically.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it.
It's what I would refer. He's like a specialized intelligence. He's very good at certain things.
In Mass Effect, I'm pretty sure at least it is. I may have not heard of it in anything. Virtual intelligence is basically like an AI that is. It doesn't necessarily. It's basically just what Jarvis is. That it basically refers to it as. So it's an AI a computer system that's really intelligent and smart and can interact with humans perfectly, but it doesn't necessarily like think completely for itself.
Yeah, and obviously when they look at the thing they found in the stone, it's like here, it looks like it's a human brain.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool,
which I understood that more as not really being a full AI, but as in like like a computer, like almost like a natural computer, a bionic computer kind of thing. Obviously, a brain is kind of that, but if you think of trying to think of anything that has it in its lore that you would know, but there's certain things that have like natural robots, almost, I don't know, like a transformer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I can take your point. But yeah, so that's where Ultron comes from, and he puts himself into a body.
Into
which is basically
one of the Iron Legion,
which is like,
which we saw at the end of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, and in the start.
Or the start of
well.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. In the start of the Avengers as well. So that's kind of fine. And you get the scene we've seen that was in all the trailers, like a puppet on strings, blah 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 blah. Fight scene, kind of average fight scene, not great. I felt probably the weakest fight scene in the film.
Yeah, definitely. But it was, that was all. That wasn't necessarily for the fight scene. That was just again building up of just basically building Ultron saying like, he was like, oh well, you've got no. Even though technically he lost that fight scene, he's still like, it was a show of how they have nothing over him. Yeah. And even if they keep beating him in any way, he's like, they're not actually beating him.
That's true. I do also like Tony fighting an Iron Legion drone with a chopstick, basically.
Yeah.
Like grabs onto its back and it's just like reaching into the innards and finding like the kill switch.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So that's a decent. It's not great scene, but it establishes Ultron.
And Ultron is terrifying in that scene because he's like he's one of the Iron Legion that was really fucked up and halfway through getting repaired.
Yeah, so, I also like they show you that suit getting messed up, like when it earlier on where it gets acid thrown at it.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool. So what happens next?
Well, he then does that suit get destroyed?
Yeah, I think the suit gets killed.
Someone fucks up the suit. Oh, Thor throws his hammer at it, and it just gets destroyed against the wall. And then that's basically Ultron saying like, "Yeah, you've just taken out.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you've taken out one body. That doesn't. That was my point of that whole scene, was based around that idea.
Yeah,
that he's everywhere now already before you even knew about him. And then so it goes on from then that they're trying to track him down. And then they find out that he's trying to get vibranium.
Yeah.
And they say about going to Wakanda, and that made me really excited.
And you don't go to Wakanda.
Well, yeah, one, they don't actually go there. Or don't they go to Africa, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't think it's Wakanda.
Whether it is or isn't, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's just like a shipyard, basically.
Yeah, whether it was or wasn't, it doesn't really matter because they're not talking about it at all. I was hoping for a cool scene in Wakanda, and like some
hint
at Black Panther.
Yeah, instead you just get like they go to like basically a scrap yard for the dead.
Well,
ships.
It's
like a graveyard.
Graveyard, yeah.
Ships. And I forget the character's name. It's played by Andy Serkis. With a very good South African accent.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I can't remember.
But he becomes a
was,
villain eventually as well.
Does he?
Yeah. He's like a Soundwave villain. He gets his arm cut off and it gets replaced with like a Soundwave generator thing.
That's like a character from Naruto.
So
did he survive that?
Yeah,
he just got his arm chopped off, doesn't
he?
Yeah. What happens to? Okay, you don't really see what happens to him, do you?
No.
He gets his arm chopped off, and then he like kill him, and then I don't think you really see him after that.
Yeah. There's a nice scene there though, which I really enjoy, where you've got like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver proving they're not really evil. Or at least not very good at being evil.
Yeah, so we haven't really talked about Ultron's whole idea is that basically when he comes about, he looks into all the Avengers, because the point of him was meant to be that he, as you said, he would be a suit of armor for the world. It was basically like a Iron Man, Iron Legion police force over the entire world, but one that could think and act properly.
Yeah.
And be a completely fair police force.
Kind of respond, well, not even as a police force necessarily. It's more like I want to be able to like save it from bigger threats than we can handle.
Yeah. And Ultron, so he has kind of this idea because Jarvis is installing the interface with him.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not fully made. So Ultron has parts of the idea, but it's not fully formed, and he sees it in a completely different way than the Avengers do, and he looks into all the files of the Avengers and sees that they're all basically murderers. Apart from there was something that annoyed me in that scene, but I can't remember. He sees that they're all murderers, so basically his idea to save the world is to take out the Avengers, and then so when he comes up to meeting Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, their lives were basically ruined because Tony Stark sold weapons on the black market. Yeah. So they blamed him for basically their village getting bombed.
And they got trapped by one of Stark's bombs for like 3 days.
Yeah. And then Ultron finds them, picks them up, and basically tells them that he hates Tony Stark, hates the Avengers, and they basically form a agreement over this idea, but they don't know what Ultron's really actual plan is, and we don't know what it is either at that time.
But Scarlet Witch has got mind powers, manipulates people. You get fight scene, vibranium, blah 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 blah, and then you start to get her manipulating the Avengers to sink into her past. Apart from Hawkeye,
that was
I'm
a
not
cool
getting
scene.
Fucking mind controlled. Fuck you, arrow, electric taser arrow to the head.
Yeah,
that's a great little scene from him.
Yeah, there was some really good stuff there. We skipped over that Tony Stark had already had that happen to him earlier.
Oh yeah,
and
that's kind of why he develops Ultron, basically.
Yeah, he's
why he pushes forward with Ultron.
Yeah, because he
sees the world in ruins because he didn't do enough.
Yeah, so that kind of like breaks him a little bit mentally. So he's like, I'm not good enough. If it's not for me, I can't save him, because in this vision, everyone's dead, and the only person that's not quite dead is Captain America, who says,
why didn't you do enough?
Yeah,
basically.
This is your fault, you didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And then dies, and then and he's the one. No, it's he says you could have saved us and all this stuff. Yeah, and dies, and then Tony Stark's the one left standing there. So that pushes him to make Ultron. So then this next time, Tony Stark's not in the scene. He's having a fight scene with Ultron, and everyone else is having the fight with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Yeah.
And I really liked the Tony Stark, the Iron Man Ultron fight for one. It wasn't amazing, but it was good.
You didn't see a lot of it though.
No, but I think it was enough because you were going to keep seeing it later on in the film, that they didn't want to oversaturate you with this
fight.
What
I really liked with it though, there's the great bit where so Quicksilver's running, grabs Captain America's shield and tosses it back at him, and then sees Mjolnir and tries to grab it.
Yeah,
It isn't worthy, and it just fucks him up.
Yeah, so in that scene, Thor's thrown his hammer, Mjolnir, and it's flying through the air, and Quicksilver's going along, and it's obviously in slow motion, and he sees it, and he thinks, oh, this would be a great thing to like lob back at him, and as he grabs it, it takes you out of his super speed, and he just gets thrown across the other side of the room.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, so that was really, apart from the whole fact that unless his powers get affected somehow when he touches stuff, he surely would have still been in slow motion to be able to let go of that. But ignoring that, because it was a funny scene and was a cool scene anyway, and again was solidifying the unworthiness aspect to Mjolnir without saying it again.
The only bit I don't like there is that Cap doesn't knock him out. Because Captain America comes over to him is like, stay down, but doesn't actually put him out of the fight.
Yeah, that was dumb, I thought.
Like, Captain, just slam him in the face with your shield, he's out cold.
Yeah, that was a really, like, stupid scene that just, like, was, well, we need him awake for later. And
I'd like to say that what I really like with Quicksilver in general, though, is there are very clear limits to his powers. You see him several times in the film, he kind of gets out of breath.
Yes, that I really like that, yeah, because it's... Yeah, he's really fast and all this stuff, but he's not ridiculously superhuman. He's just on a different level. So yeah, he's still, when he's doing stuff, he gets physically worn down. Yeah, he's getting hurt and all this stuff. So yeah, they played on that, and well, not really played on it, but they showed that it happens.
Yeah, it's really
nice.
And
that was a really nice touch to seeing things.
Yeah, I really approved of that,
especially at the later bit where he's really getting pushed to the edge of his limits, and like you see all that stuff. One thing, I guess it would have been a bit hard to explain, but they could have explained it, because they basically say his super ability is that he has a super metabolism. Yeah, so somehow that makes you run really fast. That they could have like wishy-washy explained, like had Captain America knock him out.
And he's fine again.
And because of his super speed body, he would have woken up faster than the average person.
Yeah. Could I just say, though, what I really dislike in the next bit, I just really dislike the mind control, because we did mind control in the first film, and they're like, hey, it's mind control again. And I said to my friends, because this is where you get the Hulk Iron Man fight.
Yeah. That was, once you saw all those mind control bits coming up. See, I was looking forward to seeing how this Hulk Iron Man fight came up, because like when they start doing the Ultron stuff and they're almost falling out over that, it seems to be leading up to maybe they have a really big conflict. I
genuinely said to my friends, I hope it's not mind control. It's just mind control. Yeah, they were like, yeah, no, that'd be dumb, wouldn't it? And it's just fucking mind control.
Yeah, once you see mind controls in the picture, you're like, fuck, okay. Because I thought that was going to be one of the major things that led up to Civil War.
Yeah, it's not. It's just Hulk gets mind controlled.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's dull. I like Veronica, though, which is the Hulk Buster armor.
I got notes about some of this stuff.
I like that it's called Veronica, for a start. Yeah. It's just funny.
I really like that. And the whole idea of it...
I like that it's a protocol that Banner has helped develop.
Yeah. And it almost relates to what you said earlier about the Mark 6 armor. Iron Man armor.
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah.
Like it's a big hovering thing. I like as well that the first stage is to try and contain the Hulk.
Yeah.
While Iron Man can get himself set up.
Yeah. That was really cool.
It's a thing that is like, they know it's not going to hold him, but it's to slow him down.
Yeah. It's not like. I
think it's really smart that it's not just like it's a cage, but it's electrified and everything. Yeah. And it's like basically tasing him constantly.
Yeah. So they know that he'll be able to keep punching through it. So it also like, well, to slow him down from trying to punch through it, we're putting this extra measure.
But what I also think was smart of it is the way that he doesn't go through the side; he goes down through the ground and then pops back up.
Yeah. So this was the first thing that popped into my head when that came down. The I think it's Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
Is the scene where they torture someone with a rat and a bucket.
Yeah.
And they say when it gets heat up, it tries to dig down. Once that's landed over
that's
him.
From 1984 originally.
Well, yeah, I know that's not the first thing that's in, but that was the first time I've seen it in other stuff since then as well. But that was the first time I'd seen it, so that's why my mind goes to that scene.
Yeah.
But once that landed on him, I was like, he's going to dig down.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a bad thing. I really enjoyed that whole bit, and and the whole point was that it's not a permanent fixture.
Yeah. Veronica itself is the Hulkbuster armor.
Yes, but they make it even better for the fact that the Hulkbuster armor is not just this one armor.
Yeah, I think it's modular armor.
Yeah,
That he can basically cool down new parts to repair it.
yeah,
It's really smart. It's got like a lot of stuff in it that's cool. The fact that it's kind of got the pneumatic drill where it's just punching him in the face trying to knock him out.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
You can see it was like they've really worked and looked into parts of Hulk and how they can make the stuff work. It's not just like, let's make a super big armor. This is definitely specified to fight the Hulk.
I just find it odd that it hasn't got like any knockout. Does it have knockout gas or something?
I think it had something.
But it doesn't use it like you think that'd be like the first thing you try and use.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it had something. So I'm pretty sure he did something against it. But
yeah, but just
yeah, you think there would have been other things like things to stun him in certain ways as well. Like, I don't know, like supersonic kind of things.
Yeah,
that's
just feel
been...
it would be like a more like Banner and Stark plan rather than pure brute force.
Yeah, that's
to kind
that
of
was
go a more subtle approach.
That was one of the things that I thought in it, but obviously they wanted a good fight scene though as well out of it. Yeah. So they did have a good like a good like 50-50 or so of like, this is going to be fairly clever stuff to deal with the situation, but obviously the main point is that we get a cool fight scene.
Yeah.
So it did both there.
I also like that you get the end to it where Stark like puts him through a building, like vertically through a skyscraper that's being built, and buys it.
Yeah.
Like before he does it, he's like, "Can we like how quick can we buy this building? Let's buy it right now because I need to take the Hulk out."
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was happening
because they were he says to
because I know he's talking to Jarvis, but I didn't hear what he said.
Well, I presume it's not Jarvis. It's the suit.
Oh no, it's
But is it Friday at that point?
Yeah, it's Friday.
Is it Friday yet?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Friday. His new AI is called Friday and Friday. I like Friday in a way.
Irish?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was because was it Friday?
It might be. I'm not sure.
I think it's because it's like
I'm pretty sure it's Friday.
As they go out like to do this whole bit to go to Africa. They're like doing like a bit of preparation, and Tony Stark's bit is like
No, it's not. That's later when it's Friday.
See, that's what I was thinking.
It's
the
scene where it's Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver on their side as well.
That's what I was thinking. So what is this then?
I guess it's not any AI. Maybe it's just talking to someone else.
Maybe
because I think it's just talking to the suit, basically. Yeah, because he says what's that damage, and it just flashes up on the screen. He doesn't get any verbal response.
Yeah.
So but he basically just buys the building and puts Hulk through it.
I thought what had happened. I thought he said, "Is there anyone in that building?"
Yeah, it comes up and says no.
Yeah,
it's because it scans it and goes no humans detected or whatever.
Yeah,
and it goes great. How quick can we buy this building?
Yeah, I did hear him say that. I just didn't take it in.
I don't know if it's a joke or if he's serious though.
Yeah,
I kind of hope he's serious because you'd hope that'd be how Stark does it.
Yeah, no, that'd
like,
be cool.
Yeah, I bought it. It's done.
Yeah,
and he just puts Hulk through it vertically, and then Hulk still gets up and he just punches him from the side.
Yeah,
which is great. But Hulk,
he has a nice
but
bit.
Also, Hulk's mind control is then worn off.
Yeah, Hulk's mind control's worn off. He's starting to like almost revert back to Banner because he's starting to calm down a bit, and he's seeing he's basically seeing the fear on everyone's faces, and he's seeing like how bad this is affecting everyone. And that's obviously, I felt that it was more than the mind control wearing off. It was that it was going, because once Hulk was Hulk, you didn't need the mind control stuff anymore, really. You just needed those first few steps. So I never really thought about it again after that. But I felt it was more, he had finally had a moment to look at everyone from getting beaten up by Iron Man, that he suddenly saw what was going on, and especially after seeing like New York go down, he's kind of like, the imagery he's seeing is basically going back to Banner, and so he's not quite gone yet. Hulk's still in control, but it's that small amount of weakness that gives Iron Man the amount to knock him out.
Yeah,
that was what I thought from that.
and it's kind of like it's a fine fight scene, but it's also not particularly interesting. It's not very smart. Could have been a much smarter fight, I think.
Yeah, it could have been.
So next we have Hawkeye basically puts everyone in the jet, and they go, "We can't go home because basically Hulk has just murdered a bunch of guys."
yeah.
So right, next bit in the film is everyone goes back to Hawkeye's secret house.
Yeah.
Meet Hawkeye's secret family.
Yeah.
And this is the bit that you like and I don't like of Hawkeye. I know why you like it, which I assume is because they are humanizing Hawkeye further, pointing out that he's a character with depth and also that he's the human component of the Avengers, yeah?
Kind of, but it wasn't just that. That wasn't the sole point. It was that this gave a reason to be able to wrap up Hawkeye. That was the main reason. That it wasn't just like, and also at this point, from then on, I was convinced Hawkeye was going to die.
Yeah,
but that just gave a like more depth into him leaving the Avengers.
Yeah, and
more reason and everything behind it. It wasn't necessarily that he was the human side of it, which obviously was a small amount to it, but it also definitely made Hawkeye seem stronger though in that bit. But yeah, so share your opinion, because obviously you're also coming from a much more comic side than
it's not really that at all. There's two things. One, his family is creepily perfect.
Yeah, agreed.
Two, they're like, oh look, you should feel like they're setting up to make you feel sympathetic towards Hawkeye, which I'm fine with. Except like, you should feel sympathetic towards Hawkeye. Look at all this stuff. Feel sympathy for him. And it's just really in your face. And it's just over and over and over again. And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
I think it was
doesn't
almost
need to be like this.
I think it was almost a reaction to how many people didn't care for Hawkeye though.
Yeah, but it's just
but the thing was, I always really liked Hawkeye.
I love Hawkeye, but it's just huge overkill, and it makes it really.
Yeah, but I think that's just because for the people that have come to watching the Avengers just for the way it is and see Hawkeye and they don't really understand it and don't care about him and they're like, why is he there? I think they had to really drill it into those
just
people.
Kind of intensely annoying though. From there we kind of move off into everyone doing their own thing time.
Yeah, so, that has to happen in these films.
Stark goes off to try and find out, so basically, okay, Fury comes in, blah, blah, blah. If you've listened to this, you've seen the fucking film so far.
Yeah.
So Fury comes, sorts them all out, raising speech, hooray. Stark goes off to try and find out who this guy who's secretly helping him from, which is so obviously Jarvis.
I didn't know this. I thought it was going to be something cool. I thought it was going to... I mean, that was kind of cool.
There's a bit of me that's like, I hope it's something super cool, probably Jarvis.
I thought it was going to be like the introduction of another enhanced, basically. Yeah. I thought it was going to be something like that, and I was like, I don't understand what it could be. Like, it introduced Cable in that bit, I don't know.
Only because I know as well that... I know the Vision's coming in at some point. The Vision's clearly going to be Jarvis. Okay, Jarvis is dead.
Well, my point, I was a bit... The only thing I was a bit like... The only other character I could think it would be was, I was like, oh, maybe it's a Vision. But then I was like, well, clearly it can't be the Vision because...
They haven't made him yet.
Yeah, they have to have some kind of making of the Vision. Like,
so he goes off and does that. Everyone else basically goes to Korea, South Korea, where... Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Where Ultron is having his...
Jesus,
what the fuck was that?
It's a pin coming out the back of it. Okay, carry on.
So where Ultron is building his organic version of his body, which is organic material laced with vibranium to make him super strong and blah blah blah.
He's making Wolverine
with the mind gem as part of it as well. Which we don't really know is the mind gem yet, but is the gem that was inside the scepter thing. Yeah, and is the mind gem. He has Infinity Stones,
the kind of thing.
By the end of the film, we know that basically.
Yeah. He says the thing that I said already about the mind gem, about the spear, the staff, and then the mind gem, saying, "Well, humans don't look inside things." Yeah, and we missed a lot of the stuff that I really liked about Ultron. Yeah, like I thought he was a brilliant character. Yeah, for a robot as well, he had so much soul. He was so much better than Loki. To me, Loki is at least the way he's in these films, he was a pretty flat character.
Yeah.
I didn't like him in 4, and then the fact that he was the main character in Avengers 1 really disappointed me.
Yeah.
But Ultron, I thought he was a fantastic character. There was a lot of good stuff to him. His side that he was also kind of Tony Stark, and how his voice would go into Tony Stark's voice at times. That was really cool. The weird bit was that his mouth.
Yeah.
Did you notice that how his mouth moved?
Yeah.
Almost like it was like human, or like just natural. That it wasn't the metal seemed to flow and move.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That was weird. I like that though, but that was really weird. There's also another point that I'm going to say about Ultron in a bit, but we'll say that after the few bits, like what happens.
So then there's big chase scene, which is kind of, it's half cool and half really just tedious. It's way too long. That it's like 20 minutes, and it could be easily just 10 minutes, and it would have been fine.
There was a lot of like pointless bits to that, I guess, really.
Because basically the Avengers turn up when his body's still being built. He puts his body in the back of a truck to try and escape. They find the truck, etc.
Yeah. Poor scientist lady dies.
I
liked her as well. She's been in a few films.
She doesn't die though. She survives in the end.
Does she?
Yeah, because she's in the final scenes.
Is she?
Yeah. I think they patch her up, basically. She's half dead, but she's not dead.
I did not see any of these scientist people in the final scene.
She's like half dead, but she's not dead.
I mean, she has the technology to do it, so if anyone's going to survive it, in the perfect place for them to survive it. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So you do that. Scarlet Witch has a cool bit on the bike, but it's kind of, it's fine. That chase scene is way too long.
Also, this is the scene, before that, when he's still in the room.
He's starting to get transferred into the Vision body.
Yeah.
This is the Vision. So he gets transferred into the Vision body. Scarlet Witch can finally read his mind.
Yeah, she couldn't because he's a robot.
Everyone.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of philosophizing about how humans are going to have every chance to succeed, but if they don't succeed, I'll just fucking kill them all. Which, what?
Yeah, it's like making sense and not making sense at the same time. It was like, well, it was basically, I'm going to be their judgment, and if like people don't live up to the exact things that I'm going to make them do, then I'm just going to wipe them out.
Yeah. So that's kind of a weird scene.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're kind of speaking for this because I need to go home.
Yeah.
So get that, it's fine. That's where, then the twins turn onto the Avengers side. Black Widow gets captured by Ultron, but everyone else goes back to Avengers, to the Quinjet, hangs out on the Quinjet. Everyone's like, cool, Quinjet, sorted. Let's, so the Quinjet takes the stuff to New York, takes the Vision body to New York, because before Scarlet Witch gets captured, she manages to push it out the back of the truck into the Quinjet, which is being piloted by Hawkeye. That's kind of a cool scene because it's like a mid-air transfer thing.
Yeah, and if someone's going to pull it off, it's going to be Hawkeye. Yeah. And it really annoyed me at one point because the jet was like directly behind the truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's going to arc down. And then actually, as she does it, the jet goes down and drops, and it makes sense perfectly how it goes in. I was like, oh, good, okay.
So that happens, but in the same process, Black Widow gets captured. So they go back to Stark Tower in New York. Well, earlier in the film, we're like, we should not go back to Stark Tower. And I'm like, nah, it's cool. So they go back to Stark Tower.
Yeah.
Decide to, which is super dumb. Because and Banner is there, and he's basically like a mass murderer
fugitive.
Point. Which I really wish they'd touched on that more because it would be a much more interesting film. And it's kind of it happens in the Ultimate comic books as well, which you should read. It's like in the second. Is it in the second run? I can't remember.
But have they talked about like World War Hulk and other things? Haven't they said that this is possibly happening?
People want it to happen, but there's a quote from Mark Ruffalo where he's like, "We don't have all the rights to make a standalone Hulk film, so it's complicated."
Oh, do they not? Okay. Well, the thing is that this stuff, if they could get it sorted out, they're perfectly open to have. I can't remember what the other thing to World War Hulk is. What's the one before that?
World War Hulk and Planet Hulk are the two things.
Okay, is it that? Yeah. Well, it sets up for the possibility of like something along those lines coming up. Because yeah.
So we then get So they go back to New York, and Stark's like, "Hey, do you know what we should do again? Create AI again and put it in the body again." They're like, "Probably we shouldn't." The Banner's just going, "You're fucking crazy, dude. Let's not do that. That's how we created Ultron. And he's trying to kill everyone." And Stark's like, "Yeah, but this time, what if we put Jarvis in?" And Banner is like, "No, we should still definitely not do this. This is a terrible idea." And eventually Stark talks him into it. And we get a whole thing. Consciousness transfer. Then Captain America ends up and was like, "We shouldn't do this, blah, 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 blah." And there's a really cool scene where they're kind of arguing. Quicksilver's like, "Fuck this bullshit," and just speeds around the room and just pulls out every cable, basically, and trashes like all the equipment, which I think is a really cool scene.
That scene was really cool.
And also Hawkeye getting his revenge. So he's standing on the glass pane, and Hawkeye just fires a single bullet up.
Yeah.
And it just goes, "You didn't see that coming, did you?"
Yeah. That stuff was cool. I couldn't quite understand what was going on with Hawkeye. Because whether he wanted them to go through with it, or if he was just trying to be a pain in the arse. I wasn't quite... They didn't explain it. Yeah. And he seemed to be on their side.
I'm pretty sure it was on Stark's side.
Yeah.
So you get that happens, and then Thor turns up and it's like, "No, we need the Vision because I saw it in a vision." In a vision,
I went to see
mortar stuff,
spirits for some random detour to the film that then they just didn't touch on for ages.
And he's like, "Electricity, that makes how you make bodies and stuff." Yeah.
That's how you power things, is by standing on top of it and summoning electricity through a roof.
Yeah.
That somehow doesn't get dispersed. It comes straight down.
Nuts. And then Vision turns up. It's like, "You're right, I'm basically sort of Jarvis, but not."
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "I don't know if we're cool with this guy." And is that when he picks the hammer up?
No, basically, so they're kind of okay with it. They
kind of like, bit of a fight.
There's a bit of a fight over him, like, and everyone's arguing. Cool. And then and there's like some small just I probably wouldn't think it without it coming up, but there's some small bits to Civil War popping up.
Oh, absolutely.
And sides being drawn in a way. Yeah. But if that wasn't happening, then I probably wouldn't have considered it. But yeah, with it coming up, then there's sides and stuff being drawn up there, and then so they're discussing it, and they're like, "We can't have him, but we're also on a time limit. We have to fucking go." And then Vision's just like, "Well, there's some really cool stuff with Vision that basically he's like enamored with Thor."
Yeah,
and like. It's almost like he was the first one he saw, and he sees him as his dad.
Yeah.
And then like he's staring at him, and then makes a cloak appear.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was a cool way how they got the cloak into it, because that cloak's a lame.
But then he just kind of picks up.
He's basically saying like, they're like, "Well, let's just go anyway," and they're going through this whole scene of, "Can we trust you?" And they're just eventually just like, "Let's just fucking go." And so everyone's like about to get ready, and then Vision just picks up the hammer and hands it to Thor.
Really casually.
Like, really, really casually. Doesn't give a shit about what's going on. Just hands it to Thor. And everyone's just like, "Fuck, well, I guess."
I love the Thor's just like, "Well, we trust him then."
Yeah, yeah.
And that thing comes up again later in the film.
Yeah.
So then they all fuck off, basically, in the Quinjet to go and hunt Ultron down again. But then there's the cool preparation scene. That's where we meet Friday, which is Stark's new AI. That's where the twins basically become Avengers.
Almost. They fully become Avengers later on.
Yeah, but that's basically where they become Avengers. Then they go off to the city, where the city in Eastern Europe, which is a fake city, but fictional city.
Everywhere in the Avengers film is fictional apart from New York.
Yeah.
Every like thing that most stuff in Marvel is fictional apart from New York.
Yeah.
And Washington.
And San Francisco's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So then he goes off. So they go off. Big fight of Ultron, which I was kind of like, this is also way too long. It's like just fighting street to street.
Yeah, endless Ultron clones.
Yeah.
But they're not the real Ultron, because as we saw in the scene where Black Widow's still captured by him, he has finally made his vibranium body that's bigger and more beetle looking.
Yeah, but
than
what's
the
I
other one.
find really interesting is a very nice cue is that if you've got the real core Ultron, the robot's eyes are red, and if it's just a drone, the robot's eyes are blue.
Yeah, yeah,
Which Hawkeye notices and does nothing with that information.
yeah,
So then you get loads of like just they try to clear civilians out of the city, and then street to street fighting as well.
mm.
And
And
there's a nice bit earlier as well, which is really obvious foreshadowing, but you kind of don't realize what he's doing. Is where Ultron says, "I've become really obsessed with meteors and comets wiping out humanity.
yeah,
Like it's so clean, so efficient." And then you finally see what he does, which is he is lifting the entire city
yeah.
out of the ground with anti-gravity generators and turning it into its own like
No, yeah,
meteor,
yeah,
which is so cool.
yeah. That was, and it took a little bit of time.
It's cool. It's kind of not clear for a bit, and then someone
Yeah.
realizes and kind of goes, "Oh shit, he's doing this." You're like,
Yeah,
"Man, that's
you're,
really smart."
You're like, this is really weird. Why is he just floating this city? And then, and then
And
it starts to fall into place.
Because
And
then Friday goes, if it falls at this point, it's this. Every like second, it's going higher and higher,
yeah,
and the blast radius is getting bigger.
yeah.
And it's genius.
Like astronomically bigger as well. It's not just like an extra mile added on.
Yeah,
And yeah, that was some really cool stuff. And that was a really cool way of giving it all like a time limit and a purpose to the fight
yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, we have the really cool bit just as the city's taken off is the bit what we were saying with Quicksilver, where he's the main one trying to get people onto the boats because he's obviously
the boats aren't there yet. The boats aren't there.
Oh no, this is just evacuating the city at this
so
point.
it's starting to evacuate it.
Yeah,
and he basically goes into the police station. And he's like, "Yeah, bad shit's coming. We need to evacuate."
Yeah.
And then the police guy to do nothing. He comes back with an AK-47,
Yeah.
and fires it into the ceiling.
He's like,
Goes,
"Lazy
"Get off your
asses."
asses."
Yeah.
That's a really cool scene.
Yeah, and then he's running around telling each person to leave, and
Scarlet Witch is mind controlling people to leave as well. Which is a nice combo with the powers.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I swear it's the boat bit that he gets tired.
Yeah, he does, but that's
That's what I was talking about. The bit where he gets really tired is when they're like, "Fuck." It's actually like lifting off,
So,
and
yeah,
we
they
need to
don't
get people into.
They don't get the entire. They get a good portion of the city, but the entire city isn't evacuated.
Yeah, which was a cool thing as well. Which was like, well, yeah, we can't fucking do all this stuff. Like it was kind of like the Avengers are being pushed to a limit of just manpower. Like
also, I like that they're initially trying to evacuate the city because they're worried about collateral damage.
Yeah,
and they don't because they're just thinking, "Oh, we're gonna go fight Ultron at the castle where we fought Baron Strucker earlier."
Yeah.
But it actually turns out that Ultron is lifting the whole city up. So that happens. And like, oh, we didn't get everyone out. Fuck. And the city's going higher and higher. And eventually, S.H.I.E.L.D. turns up in a helicarrier.
Yeah, that's
Nick Fury is like, "Yeah, I got this out of mothballs." You're like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I just got a helicarrier." You're like, "This is fucking weird."
Yeah, but was it covered in water? It was dripping water, wasn't it?
Maybe, I don't know.
So I think that he had basically stashed a helicarrier. That was my idea, was that he had stashed a helicarrier under the water. And also a little bit in my head was, has he just been living in this helicarrier?
Yeah,
Right.
it was super weird.
Yeah.
So and Maria Hill's there, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then that's when they start sending lifeboats over, and that's when Quicksilver's like, "Oh, so is this what Shield's like? Like this is what Shield is supposed to be like," which is nice. That kind of sets up a future version of Shield for future movies where it's not super evil.
Yeah.
And so they're sending out like hovering lifeboats that attach to the floating city, and people vacuum people into lifeboats. And they're like, "Okay, literally the only way we can do this is if we get everyone out of the city, and we're just going to basically nuke the city, essentially."
Yeah.
Is their solution. So there's some cool bits going on in there. There's the classic "Is that all you got?" bit from 4. Well, 4 is basically fighting Ultron himself.
Yeah, most of the time it's been Iron Man fighting Ultron, which was cool because it was...
you got that dynamic.
Yeah.
But it turns out he actually hates 4 more.
Does he?
Yeah, he kind of says that he hates him the most.
No, he says he hates Tony Stark the most.
There's a bit where
no, I think it may be something tied with because at this point, obviously Vision's in the fight and stuff, and I think it may be because Thor helped the Vision, and Vision kind of looks up to Thor the most.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there's a tie between that, and that's why, because he wants Vision to be his son basically, but Vision is Thor's son, kind of.
Yeah, and I really like the bit where Thor is stalling for time.
Yeah, and then he's like
whacks him with the Vision whacks Ultron with a hammer. And what's really cool there is he just goes, "This is tremendously well balanced."
Yeah,
and it's like, well, yeah, you don't want to be too heavy because you're just going to get the full power on the swing. I really like that.
We missed a bit earlier. So when they're in the church, and basically they're trying to evacuate the city at this point, and Tony Stark's talking to Ultron, and he's saying, and Ultron's like, "You're just stalling for time," and then says. And I can't remember, he gets one of his clones to attack Iron Man at that point, I think. And he says, "You aren't the only one stalling for time," which was a really cool thing for a villain to actually say like that, because it's always like the hero stalling for time for some reason, but it's like, you were, but also I had to as well. So
yeah, that's when the city starts floating.
Yeah.
You got the whole bit where Hawkeye's like, "Hey, Scarlet Witch, be an Avenger, don't be a pussy."
Yeah. And that was the other cool bit where he's like, he's saying all the crazy shit that's going on, and then he's like, "And I have a bow and arrow."
Yeah. And they're like, "Yeah, that is really fucking weird." There's a great bit. Yeah. My favorite bit after that, though, is where, Quicksilver is going, like, take some robots out. It's like, "Didn't see him coming, did you?" Yeah. And Hawkeye just draws his bow on him as he's running away. It's like, no one would ever know. Yeah. No, it's that's like classic Joss Whedon dialogue as well. It's like, no one would ever know. Oh, last time I saw him, like, Ultron was just sitting on him. Yeah. Such a shame. He'll be mourned. Yeah. That's just a fabulous scene.
Hawkeye was definitely better in this film, just personality-wise.
Yeah, he's much funnier.
And also that dynamic between the two was really good, and it's a shame for what we were about to say as well.
Yeah. Because then Quicksilver basically gets killed saving Hawkeye. Because Hawkeye sees a kid, and he's like, "We need to get that kid onto a lifeboat."
And it's like, "Fuck you, Hawkeye, no!"
And it's like, just ring Quicksilver up.
Yeah.
Like, "Quicksilver, go get that kid."
Yeah.
Because it would be done instantly.
Yeah, but it was also because it was tying into Hawkeye's kids. And it was a moment that was like that it's like, if I can't save this one kid, how am I meant to save my own kids? And that's how it's tying in, I think, really.
And there's also a great scene where Hawkeye is really in the fight because he's talking about what he's going to do afterwards with him and Black Widow in the car.
Yeah, they're in the car.
And he's like, "Yeah, I think we should like rip out the wall between the dining room and this room because then it's going to be like a big craft room."
Yeah,
and she's like, "Well, no one's..." And then, like, Blair was like, "Yeah, well, no one eats in the dining room. Like, who's in the dining room? Everyone's in the kitchen anyway." It's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I liked the amount of driving in this fight scene because it was such a huge fight scene. So
it's like a whole city. Literally.
Yeah, and it made sense that, well, they're not just going to appear from one area to the other.
Which is a big flaw in the first Avengers
film.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and I also really like the bit where it's Catcher is like, "Black Widow, where are you?" He's like, "We can't all fly. It's just her, like, in a bulldozer."
Yeah, and she's just going through
Ultron clones.
Yeah,
That's just great. And then we kind of get towards final fight. Basically, the city is close to evacuated.
Some of the new Avengers turn up in this time as well.
So the new Avengers turn up, which is like, well, it's actually just
War Machine, isn't it? But I'm kind of thinking of it because as it's shown later that Vision is a new Avenger, basically.
And Scarlet Witch as well.
Yeah, good point. That was horrible that happened with Quicksilver though. That he basically Hawkeye goes to flip up. No, he goes to grab this kid. And Quicksilver comes and pushes a car in front of him.
Yeah, because he's being strafed by Ultron is in the Quinjet. He's just
that was it. I couldn't remember what the bullets were coming from. Yeah, Ultron just steals the Quinjet halfway through the fight because he's just like, "Fuck the Avengers."
Yeah. Well, basically they've just taken out like his entire army.
Yeah.
And there's like maybe like he has like thousands of Ultrons.
Yeah.
And there's maybe like 50 left at this point.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. There's hardly any left.
But that bit also shows so much humanity in Ultron that he's basically doing this. It is a tactical advantage, but it's not just that. It's the like just the fuck you and rubbing it in their face of like, "I've just stolen your jet."
Yeah.
And that is the whole point of that bit. And this was my other point that I didn't get to was that even though Vision is like flesh and metal, and Ultron is just metal,
Yeah.
did you see how much, like, obviously Vision is half Jarvis, but Vision is so much more robotic than Ultron is.
Yes.
He's so much more just of a computer, where Ultron is so humanized, and he is. It was a great thing, and I'm glad that he wasn't anything less than he was. Otherwise, that could have been really boring. And then the Hulk just flies through the Quinjet and destroys it.
What I love in that is you get the puny god scene, basically.
Yeah,
where
kind of a similar thing.
Hulk kind of jumps into the back of the Quinjet, and you just hear Ultron go, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, he jumps into because the back's open.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Yeah, and Hulk just jumps in.
Like, yeah, you just see him turn around. And he's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, that's a fabulous scene.
And it's still proving the fact that Hulk is the best one, and he can win nearly all situations, but it's just that he's not like a fighter, like a good fighter.
Yeah, well, he's not a tactical fighter.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he's not a tactical
what
fighter.
I really like with it as well, though, is just the bit where he is then like, I guess this fight's probably over. I should just steal the Quinjet.
Yeah.
And he just fucks off in the Quinjet.
Yeah.
Like, there is still a fight actively going on, you guys, right, Hulk? Like, right now.
Yeah.
And Natasha is all like, you should probably bring the jet back. And he's like, no, I'm good.
Well, it's because
there's the whole romance with them.
Yeah,
there's loads of stuff that
and she's
touched on.
and I really liked that romance though. Personally, I thought it was a really good one, and it worked.
Where I feel like the Hawkeye stuff fails, that really actually works.
And the fact that, like, obviously in the first one, a lot of people thought Hawkeye, Black Widow.
Yeah.
And then they're
just really good friends. They're like brother and sister, basically.
Yeah, and they really played on that. They made that good. And also, I felt that the family being brought in was almost half a way of being like, look, there isn't nothing going on. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And
that
it's making her relationship with Banner clean.
Black Widow was also aware that he has a family.
Yeah.
Because he's like really friendly with his wife and stuff.
Yeah. So I thought
that is my single favorite scene in the film, where they come there and Black Widow is talking to Hawkeye's wife, who might not actually get a name, which is messed up. But maybe the kids definitely don't get names.
I'm sure it's in the credits. They probably have a name, but yeah.
But he's just
no, one kid gets a name, unless this is what you're about to mention.
Yeah, the baby one that's getting born.
Yeah.
So she's heavily pregnant, and Natasha is like, "Oh, how's little Natasha?" And he's like, it's little Nathan. Yeah. And she just leans down to her step and just goes, "Traitor."
Yeah.
That's a fantastic, really funny scene. So then we get I can't remember. Basically, Avengers win.
Yeah, Avengers win.
They sort the city out. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. Quicksilver's dead.
Ultron.
You get the good bit where
Ultron activates the machine in a way, which always has to happen. That kind of thing. He does finally get to his plan, but then
that basically because Quicksilver's dead and Scarlet Witch fucks off to find like the core Ultron to kill it because she's so pissed,
and there's fucking tortures it.
Yeah, but my favourite bit actually though is the bit where Quicksilver dies and she just goes nuts.
Yeah,
and you just see the huge wave of energy come off her.
Yeah,
and you realise, and this might apply to one of my friends, is that she is the replacement for the Hulk in the team. Like everyone is like, oh, she's okay. I don't know what role she's going to be because kind of, you can see some of them like War Machine's clearly Iron Man and stuff like that. And Falcon is in the new Avengers team. We'll see at the end that he's clearly Hawkeye. And the Vision is clearly Thor. But I would contest that Scarlet Witch is clearly the Hulk when you see how powerful she is when she goes off the rails.
Yeah, well, that's if they're going to bring her emotional side out in the future again.
Yeah. Also, I would like to point out that generally emotionally unstable Scarlet Witch is not good for people.
Yeah, but
like, things go bad when she's
cool
emotionally unstable.
If they make her, if they do make her really like, I don't know. From the way I saw it though, at the end she looked like she was more like, I'm badass, I'm going to be awesome. But I think it would be cool if they made her more fragile in a way, so it's more like she's more recessed, and it's like
it kind of makes her more like Banner as well, because Banner is incredibly physically strong but incredibly psychologically fragile, and she could be a very similar kind of thing.
Well, that's but I don't think they're going to make like a. But my thing would be is if she doesn't want to use her powers too much, doesn't want to do all this stuff, but then it's like, no, you have to do it, and they push her all the time, and each time they come to win the fight is when she snaps and does the Hulk thing, but with her powers. Yeah, see, it could work like that if they kind of repeated a similar formula to the Hulk, but changed it to match her. But I don't know if they will do that.
So then we get basically.
Avengers again, Iron Man tries to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, but doesn't kind of half
stop
does.
This. And then
him and Thor
who else?
team
And
up to win.
it's Thor.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like I don't actually know if Thor's definitely going to leave, but it was kind of like their goodbyes kind of thing to the series. One thing, it's really weird that they are replacing the Avengers and changing it in the second film out of a trilogy kind of, and before the final part of their story, of the story that they're in.
Civil War. That's why you've got to have two Avengers teams. And although Stark isn't really going, is my guess. So basically they win, and then the next thing you see is, hey, the new Avengers are here. I mean, sure.
They have new Avengers base suddenly.
New Avengers base, and like, sure, I guess lots of stuff is super fucking crazy, and these guys are basically mass murderers at various points. But it's cool, right?
Yeah.
And there's loads of bits earlier in the film where it's like, yeah, there's loads of public distrust, and people don't like S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D.'s now the Avengers, and it's cool. It's very weird.
That is the whole point at the start of the film, is they're basically saying that the Avengers are now S.H.I.E.L.D. with that whole infiltration of the base.
But also like that people don't trust them.
No, they didn't say that. They don't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. You're saying
they don't trust the Avengers.
When did they say that at the start?
City. Avengers go home. Avengers go home.
No, wasn't that the...
That's the city at the start.
When the
Iron Legion come into the city.
Yeah, but that was... that wasn't the same idea you're having. I think that was because that was the Russian city, and I think they were seeing it in effect of the same way Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye saw it. Not Hawkeye, Quicksilver saw it. Of that basically a lot of people elsewhere in the world don't like the Avengers because they have Tony Stark on the team, and Tony Stark previously had caused so much shit for the rest of the world.
I think they also see them as just general outreach of American imperialism, which is not cool. But I also think then you get the whole stuff with like Hulk, the battle of Hulk in South Africa.
Yeah, that's what I say. Later on in the film, it definitely has points. It ebbs and flows in trust of Avengers, definitely, I think.
But they seem to have just basically in the film they've like essentially reformed S.H.I.E.L.D. now, which is weird.
Yeah,
like, they've got we have all these recruits now. Where the fuck did those guys come from?
Yeah.
So then they're all hanging out. It's cool. Thor is like, okay, I'm good. I've got to go back to like Asgard and check some shit out. So he fucks off home.
He has to be in the next film day because
he's in Ragnarok, so that's fine. There's another Thor film, so
fuck that.
But anyway, so he's gone. Stark is like, this is the one I don't understand though. Well, the first is the quite funny scene where they're debating whether or not the Vision is worthy.
Yeah,
and then it's a machine, so he's not worthy.
Yeah,
I was like, but if it's in the elevator and the elevator goes up, it gets lifted, right? So is the elevator worthy?
Yeah.
So that's a kind of
they make the new rule that you have to be a human. No, you have to be not human, but a living creature, a full living creature.
Yeah, you have to be like natural, basically, which is weird. So I get why Thor leaves, and I get why Captain America stays, and I get why Black Widow stays, because Black Widow is the only thing she knows. Captain America, his kind of he gets haunted by his potential of a family, but he's like, nah, I'm good. But I don't get why Stark leaves, because Stark's vision that haunted him is I didn't do enough.
Yeah,
and then he leaves.
I didn't get the sense though in that bit that it was for good. I thought,
but he's like, I'm tagging out.
I thought it was just like, I thought he basically just wasn't. He didn't necessarily care so much about the new Avengers being trained.
Yeah,
and he's like, look, I have a business, I have all this stuff, I have a life. you guys can handle this.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was kind of a thing of, I trust you to do all this stuff, but I have a full life and loads of stuff to lead. I will be back if you need it. That was my kind of opinion on it, because he also bought the place, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was his property that he gave them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like 100% like, oh yeah, I'm God. It was just like, I have to do shit. I can't stay here all the time. And he's like,
but then anyway, so he's gone for a bit, and then you see the new Avengers team, which is led by Captain America and Black Widow, but then also War Machine, Vision, Falcon, and
Scarlet
Witch, because Quicksilver's dead. Which is kind of a solid team.
Yeah.
And that sets up a new Avengers team to obviously fight the old Avengers team, which is clearly going to be, you're going to have, I reckon, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Thor at least are on one side. Potentially Banner if Banner reappears, but I don't know if he will, because this is like the next film and he's clearly fucked off somewhere for a bit.
He may appear because he's pissed off with Scarlet Witch. I always confuse him because in real life her name's Scarlett Johansson. Yeah. She may appear to go against her.
Yeah.
To go against Black Widow. But that was my other points of the possible World War Hulk stuff, was that it seems that now that because of that, Hulk was fully in control.
Yeah.
Puny Banner may not be around.
Yeah. So I don't think Hulk's going to be in the Civil War film.
So yeah, it depends on which route they want to go with that.
Yeah. But then we're going to see what happens.
I think Hawkeye may appear to be on Stark's side in Civil War just because of obviously he had his secret family, and he's like, I kept that secret. I don't want people to know about this stuff, so it's fair that other people don't know. I feel maybe Spider-Man may have some.
Depends if he appears or not.
Yeah, but obviously, a lot of people are saying now they have him and Civil War's coming up, and he's a major part of the Civil War in the comics, that they expect him to be in Civil War, and so they may bring him in post credits on Ant-Man or something.
Which would be a super weird place to bring him in.
Yeah, but it's the next one's after that is Civil War, isn't it? But my idea was that he may have something like the Civil War may be sparked off by Spider-Man. Yeah. Because obviously in the comics,
secret identity. Blah,
yeah,
blah.
it's sparked off by.
It's sparked off by the Stanford explosion.
Yeah, I was trying to remember that guy's name.
I don't know what it's going to be.
But yeah, it may have some tie to Spider-Man and him possibly not wanting to join the new Avengers, something along those lines.
Yeah, but we basically got the sides. It's just a case of what sparks it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good. And I imagine they've probably already got it written though, so it may not be that, but that could be something that would work. But obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's happened that they can use as fodder for the start of this. New York, the fake Russian city, or well, it wasn't Russia. It's
just Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts. Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was better than the first one easily.
I think it's better than the first one. I think the fight scenes are better than the first one. I think the fight scenes are better than most fight scenes in modern day action films. Some of the plot is a bit. Some stuff is very flaky. Just like, why does this happen? The stuff where Stark goes to the Nexus, which is like, all the world's internet traffic goes through here, pissed me off.
Yeah, I was a bit like
that's the opposite of how the internet works.
I was like, this is a bit what? You realise this place would just like explode within seconds. Like,
but it's like, this is the opposite. The entire point of the internet is it's not centralized.
Yeah, but that's my point. If any place could like just do that, like, there's no way I'm sure unless it was like the size of a country, you couldn't have somewhere that all the internet goes through. It's just it would just like overload everything like straight away.
What else? So that was kind of dumb. It's too long. It could have been so much shorter.
It was a long film. What was it, 2.5 hours? Or was that 2.5 hours with adverts at the start?
Oh, I think it's like 2.5 hours. But even if it's 2 hours, it could have easily have been 90 minutes without making it a worse film.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's half an hour you can cut without trying.
Yeah, I think I agree to an extent there. Yeah, I did really like it, but there was some fluff that could have been trimmed off. There was some scenes that seemed fluff though at this like earlier on, and then they had payout later on. Not just a hammer scene. There was a few other bits as well, but yeah, I don't know about that.
I also think they
let's see.
don't deal with the fallout from Banner nearly enough. With the fallout from like the whole, just basically wiping a city out. They don't deal with that fallout anywhere near enough.
Yeah. Should I've got two comments from other people that I'll just read out. This is actually quite a long one. I don't have time to read through it before. Basically, Eric B. Williams, I did send out to people to say their opinions. Eric B. Williams says, James Spader is an excellent villain.
He's very good.
However, my only tiny gripe is that I wish Ultron had been just a tad bit darker. I don't personally agree with that, but I can understand that he would. I saw it in flashes whenever he snapped, but then he'd go back to the fake, nice, innocent guy persona. We know Ultron can be absolutely brutal, and I think I expected a little more of this instead of this slightly watered-down version. Yeah, but they didn't have the full-time or stuff to do in real Age of Ultron kind of thing. He was more menacing in the cartoon, honestly. I feel Spader would have knocked it out of the park and would have been closer to the version of Ultron. Overall, though, I loved the movie. The title, Easter eggs, and references to upcoming movies. The ending setup surprised me for a moment. I actually thought we might get Spidey in the scene. I'd go see it again. They could have added Spider-Man in the new Avengers lineup easily and just been glossed over it.
It would have been horrible.
They could have, because just been like, what the fuck?
Also, Spider-Man's here. What? Yeah, I guess Spider-Man's here.
Yeah, they could have glossed over that and just like had that be like the final second of the scene and being like,
no, it'd been terrible. That would have
know.
been absolutely awful. Just be like, yeah, don't worry, Spider-Man's here, because everyone would be like, but you didn't mention Spider-Man at any point previous to this. No, don't worry, just Spider-Man's here.
Yeah, well, I imagine they'd like touch on that the next time. I'd go see it again, and I plan on getting it on Blu-ray when it comes out. It left me excited for Civil War, Ragnarok, Black Panther, and Infinity Wars. Avengers is a success to me. I'm also trying to comment without spoilers for those who plan on seeing it. Yeah, well, we spoiled the fuck out of it anyway. Also, I have one thing on Twitter, which was from Lewis. There's a picture of my brother's face there. Oh, for God's sake, what the fuck? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. One sec. God's sake. Sorry, I am on the Robot Punch Twitter account, not my own accounts. There we go. So I have, what is it? Yeah, from Lewis Sullivan, I got too many major plot holes, enjoyable spectacle, but the characters all seem too similarly written. Action was broken up by too many wisecracks, especially during the end. Probably put it down with Iron Man 3 in the list of MCU films. Personally, Iron Man 3 was my favourite Iron Man film. So I assume he sees it as a bad film. I don't know though. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought a few plot holes. I don't know really how, like, too many though personally. Just, I wouldn't call them plot holes, I just call them things for the future.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's the thing. It's just a lot of setup, and also they leave themselves writing space, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah.
Because these aren't, as however much they seem standalone, they're not really standalone things. So they've put points for that they can use later on, but also they don't get too specific with those points in the film, so they can give themselves leeway of writing in the future. So yeah, I think that's I think there's no more.
I will go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was trying to rush through that. So yeah, thank you all for watching and/or listening. I am Kris Lipscombe, and my brother here, Kris Lipscombe.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you all for watching. I'll do promotional stuff. I'll do a video at the end of this on my own. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. I don't have a quote, so I'll do that later. Bye. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode. If you agreed or disagreed with anything we said and want to message us, you can comment on YouTube, you can go on our SoundCloud or tweet us individually. You can find the podcast Twitter at RBT Punch. My Twitter is at Carlis_awesome, and Chris's one is at HalbPro, HALBPRO. Also, a little self-promotion at the moment. I had taken a break from YouTube for a week or two just because I had some personal issues and it was hard to get myself into the mindset of doing it. But I'm back on there now, and you can find my new Forest Let's Plays on there. Also some State of Decay ones going up. A indie game called Transcend, which was really interesting, where you basically transcend life and death. To solve certain puzzles it's a 2D platformer, and to solve certain puzzles, you have to die and then come back alive again. That was a really interesting one. I've got a few others coming up in the next week. So yeah, if you can find that at youtube.com/user/RPGcarl. So, and also I'll be Twitch streaming a lot more in the future, so that is on Twitch, Carlis_awesome. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.